You're listening to Operation Self Reset: How to Fight iPhone Addiction. What is going on, you freaking awesome people? Welcome back to Operation Self Reset. My name is Jake Naraki, coming to you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Each and every week, we dive into a different topic in the world of personal development. Today's show is brought to you by Health IQ. Health IQ is an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. Go to healthiq.com/reset to support the show and to see if you personally qualify. So before we get into kind of an update and an outline of what is going on in my world, I want to first, as a disclaimer, say this. The title of today's show, Fight iPhone Addiction, shockingly, is nothing more than a shock to my system. It was a wake-up call for me to get kind of agitated and irritated to investigate further what is going on with this statement, what is going on with the battle of parents and kids versus the corporate world. And as we know, in the world that we live in today, there are a lot of distractions. Smoking, it kills people, right? Lung cancer. Now the new topic is the iPhone or tablet time or whatever you want to call it, where kids are getting pulled away from school, activities, sports, and using their phone or tablet 9 to 10, 12 hours a day. It's insane. And you're probably thinking to yourself, that's not true. Well, go look it up. The reason why I had to talk about this and to bring this up is, number one, it reminded me of a book that I recently read. It's called Messy: The Power of Disorder to Transform Our Lives. We'll get into my 3 takeaways from that book in just a minute. But the real essence of it was because I was really irritated at the parent of not having control over their children. The parent that is too lazy or distracted or overwhelmed, and they have nowhere to turn, and they can't take the device away from their kids, so they just let them run rampant with it. And I think there's a yin and a yang to every decision or every comment or every news media story out there, is because there's always a good and a bad, or a bad and a good, and it depends on how you look at it and what side of the fence you're sitting on. For me personally, in the realm of what this comment is, or the topic that is really striking America really hard right now, I think it's kind of I'm kind of irritated. I'm kind of irritated at the news media for creating this type of irritable statement that just pushed my buttons, and I know it pushed a lot of other people's buttons. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, but also too that it dragged me back into the news media world. Now, personally, I grew up watching the world news, the evening news with my parents almost religiously every single night. And I think there's a lot of value and a lot of good things that come out of it. It gives you a worldview of what is going on. But at the same time, they throw a lot of daggers at your psyche. They throw a lot of daggers into your soul and who you are, because they do whatever it takes to scare you. To scare you with war, to scare you with drugs, to scare you with, dryer lint that may be irritating skin and people are going to the hospital. Whatever the case may be, they're always trying to scare us. And because we have this fight or flight response inside of our brain, we get attracted to it. Next thing you know, we're sitting in front of the TV for hours on end, watching live news, recorded news, world news. It doesn't matter. We dive into it. And obviously, if you are a social media individual, news is on there too. So there's really no way to get away from it. I try my best to separate myself because it's not relevant in my world. It doesn't help me excel or get better on the trajectory that I'm trying to get to. For you, you may have a different trajectory. You may be in a different industry. And so you need to be in the know a little bit more, and that's totally cool. But the reason why, again, that I really got irritated is because I felt that the whole comment, the whole idea of this fight iPhone addiction or tablet addiction, it doesn't have to be just iPhones in general, is that parents want the corporate world to pay for better education, better software for the parent to use against their children to control their kids, control their devices, and all that stuff. And it's going back to almost having the tobacco industry putting these warning labels on tobacco cartons saying, warning, risk of cancer, lung cancer, throat cancer, all these different types of cancers. But obviously, the individuals that are purchasing it are purchasing it out of their own will. They're doing it to satisfy their own personal need. They think it's cool, whatever the case may be. I know what you're saying. You're saying, Jake, tobacco is addictive and it alters your state and all that stuff. I totally get it. But in today's day and age, where you have multiple advertisements of telling you to stay away from it, multiple chewing gums and alternatives and chemicals and pills to get you off of it. There's a lot more research and ideas behind it. You should have a little more power in the consumer realm. And the same kind of unfolds today in the technology realm of the technology is running our children. And for the consumers, who put these technology phones or tablets in the hands of the children? Usually it's the parents, right? The parents bought it for them, or there was an old one, so they handed it to them. And so it's kind of one of those things that irritated me, because why should we have the company that is providing the tablets for us pay for the education when the parents are buying the devices and whatever? So as you can see, I'm kind of getting wrapped up into this whole washing machine kind of lifestyle of these comments and trying to figure out where I stand on these topics. And out of that, it made me think of the book, like I just said, Messy, The Power of Disorder to Transform Our Lives. And the biggest takeaway, I guess I should get into the top three things right out of the gate, is this. Number one, to change it up. Number two, to focus on truth versus feeling of comfort. And then number three is kind of a quote. I'm not going to share it with you guys just yet because I feel it's really powerful and something I want to dwell on in a minute. But those are the three topics that we're going to be talking about based off that book that was brought up, or at least reminded me of the situation that's going on in the United States today. Obviously, it's not just the United States, it's all over the world. Technology is taking kids out of the game. There's a lot of online bullying, all that stuff, and we're not going to get into it because it doesn't apply to you. But what does apply is the things that I wanted to, suggest to you guys and to remind you guys of, to live an awesome lifestyle. Now, before we get into those three top ideas, number one, I want to check in with you guys and say, how are your goals doing for the year? As I record this, it is January 9th. By the time you listen to it, it'll be 10 days into the new year. Some people are Google for goals. Some people don't care. Some people are just living, at the edge of the seat, play it by ear kind of thing. It doesn't really matter, but this is maybe more of an announcement of saying, where are you at? Where are you at personally right here, right now? And it doesn't have to be, I want to lose 20 pounds or read 100 books or start a new business, increase my revenue. It doesn't really matter, all that stuff. But where are you at right now? How are you personally feeling? When was the last time you did a gut check on yourself to kind of dial back in and go, oh, okay, this is where I'm at? For a majority of us, it's some of us don't even give ourselves a second. You're listening to great content, you're listening to audiobooks, you're listening to radio, you're going into work, you're dealing with kids, you're doing exterior stuff, social stuff, and you're running all around like a crazy person, which I know you do because we all do it in today's day and age. But really check on in, how are you personally doing? It doesn't have to be goal related, it can be just self-esteem related, your confidence, your outlook of what is possible for you in your life. Because as we know, time flies by so fast. And if you don't take a second to kind of pause and reflect and go, all right, I'm here. I want bigger things for myself. You're never going to have quote unquote time to do it. Because the biggest resource that you and I always miss or lack is time. We never have enough time. How are you? How you been? I'm busy. I just running all around. We don't have time. You're running to bed. You're waking up as quick as you can. You're running around like a crazy person during the day. Time is one of those things that it always slips away from us. But yet, for some odd reason, we always have time to check social media. We always have time to check our favorite websites. But when was the last time you checked in on your favorite person, aka thyself? It's just nothing more than a wake-up call to yourself. For the people that left me a review, I will be sending out the t-shirts shortly, so hold on to your pants for that one. And then third, I plan on reinvigorating my YouTube channel. And I want to see if that applies to you guys. If you feel that I should dive back into the YouTube channel atmosphere and it would be beneficial, let me know. It would be greatly appreciated. If you don't think so, not a problem. We'll keep on rocking the podcast. I love podcasts. I love podcasting, and hopefully you guys do too. And I appreciate you guys just listening point blank. But if you feel that I should get back on the horse for my YouTube channel, it'd be great to have you guys as my accountability partner, just to keep my feet to the fire and to keep me striving and moving forward. And hopefully I can do the same for you guys, obviously. So with that being said, let's dive into the three things that I want to talk about out of the book. The book, again, is called Messy: The Power of Disorder to Transform Your Life. The reason why I decided to read this book was a couple of things. Number one, it was a book about just chaos and distress and unorganized, and it kind of fits well into my lifestyle. Now, the reason why I say that is because I work in a job that is quote unquote organized chaos. I work for the fire department. If you ever seen a fire or a building on fire and you watch the firefighters run to that building, from the exterior, from your point of view, it looks chaotic. There's guys on the roof, there's guys going in, there's guys breaking windows, there's guys yelling at each other, there's guys getting water, all different types of moving pieces. But obviously, like I just stated, it's organized chaos. It looks chaotic, but it's organized. There is a method to the madness. And for me, I don't live in a world where everything has its place, where I know exactly where I put that sheet of paper or where I put this or that other thing. I live in a very chaotic kind of mind and a creative mind, and I think that's very good. And for you, you may have a mind that works very well for your lifestyle because that's who you are. For me, I kind of have more of a loose lifestyle, which allows me to think clear and kind of think creatively, at the same time allow me to be me at my fullest. And so this book attracted to me because it allowed me to understand that maybe being chaotic, maybe being disorganized is okay. It's not obviously ideal. It's not the best thing. It's not the most highly regarded productivity tip in the world, but it's a reassurance of letting me know personally that I'm okay. And every once in a while, we need to read these types of books that reassure that what we're doing is the right thing. Doesn't it feel good when if you went to a round table with 20 different people from all around the world and different points of view and different educational levels, and yet you stated something and you had somebody that you never met before from across the table start applauding, like, that was brilliant, or I agree with you full-heartedly. Wouldn't that make you feel good, right? So when you find things that make you personally feel good, that reassure that what you're doing is the right thing, you gotta latch onto it. You gotta hold it with two hands and snuggle with that bad boy, because once you do that, you go, okay, you know what? I'm not as crazy as people think. I'm not as ridiculous or as driven. You know what? This is who I am, and I'm going to rock it because this individual agrees with me, or at least maybe brings out things that I kind of understood, but because they wrote a book about it or they spoke on it, it allows me to connect with them deeper in the same essence. It allows me to connect deeper with myself. And so that's why this book was very attractive to me. And like I said, when you do find that book, that thing, that speech, that representative, that individual that connects with you, hold on to that person, because that's a person that gets you. And if that person gets you, just think how powerful and your confidence and self-esteem are going to rise up once you know that there's a group of people out there like you. It feels good. It feels good to be a part of something as opposed to being on this island of nonsense. But the three things that I took away out of this book, there's obviously more than three things, and the recurring theme is basically they talk about a lot of different business models and a lot of personality types that are open-ended, that are a little chaotic, a little disorganized, that in a couple minutes here, I'm going to be talking about Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin was obviously a creative, ingenious, smart guy that would, just kind of created these waves of movements. And the last thing that I'm going to say, it was going to be my bookend, if you want to call it that, but I'm going to start with it because I'm kind of sliding into it. The one thing that they talk about with Benjamin Franklin is that he was a disorganized, chaotic mess. The guy had projects all over the place. But the great thing is that because he was a chaotic, disorganized guy with so many different products going on, or projects, I should say, going on, it allowed him to do so much more than maybe somebody that was stuck in the one lane concept. Now, there's a great book out there called The One Thing by Jay Papasan, and he talks about understanding that if you want to accomplish anything, you need to stay in that lane and do that one thing that will make the biggest impact for your day, your week, your month, your whatever it is. And I think we understand that. The one thing, get really focused in it and work towards it. But the kind of the Ben Franklin approach, it sounds, is that if you have multiple different projects going on at the same time, you're able to kind of open up the possibilities, get creative, and create a bigger impact. Now, obviously, Benjamin Franklin is an individual that we look at, and he was from America. He was the guy that, if you're from out of the country, he was the guy that flew the kite and had a key at the end of the string. He was trying to capture lightning, which sounds radical, right? Like, I mean, we see lightning all the time. We get scared of it when we're inside of our home, that has multiple layers of shingling and insulation and wood and the comforts and all that stuff. And Benjamin Franklin is out in a prairie flying a kite in the middle of a storm with a key and a jar and trying to capture lightning in a bottle, which sounds just radical. But obviously, that was normal to him at that time. And so to pull it back in here, they talk about, but the truth is, here, I'm going to take a little clip it of the book. It states this: but the truth is that Franklin was too busy inventing bifocals, catching lightning, publishing newspapers, and signing the Declaration of Independence to ever get around to tidying up his life. Now, a couple of those ideas, bifocals and lightning in a bottle, Declaration of Independence, newspapers, those were just a couple of the things that he did over the course of his year, of course. But if he was able to tidy up, or if he said, okay, you know what, I'm going to start cleaning up my lab here, chances are maybe he wouldn't think creatively. Maybe he wouldn't do all the things that he said. And so in regard to what it is that we're trying to accomplish out there, a lot of people say the monkey mind is bad. Having ADHD where you're bouncing left and right all the time is bad. And they want to seduce us with all these chemicals and pills, and they label us and stamp us, and there's rehabs and all these different types of books that can cure us of these diseases. But in actuality, it sounds like Benjamin Franklin had ADHD. He was a guy that had ADD, attention deficit disorder. He was all over the place, I mean, from the sounds of it. Now, obviously, in his time and age, he did not have the distraction of the iPhone and the addiction of it. He didn't have, really electricity because he was trying to capture lightning in a bottle, aka electricity in a bottle. He obviously didn't have a lot of the distractions that you and I have today, but nonetheless, the same applies. By being a little loose in his organizational skills and not being as tidy as he could be, allowed him to have the freedom to work on so many different projects. And so for you, that you may have a personality where everything needs to be in order, and I'm not saying to just scratch that and to live like a slob and live like a pack rat and just start saving everything you can and who cares about the way you live. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying, in the world where productivity is king, where trying to maximize every minute of every day is king, it's okay to have that loose approach. It's okay to jump into this pool, to get out, and to jump into that pool within the same hour, if you're able to handle it. If you're an individual that is trying to jump in multiple pools, and then next thing you know, you're on YouTube, listening to the newest music, or watching the Golden Globes from 15 years ago, sure, obviously then there's a problem there. But for the individual that's able to juggle many balls or to wear many hats, there are some great attributes that pull out of it. So now let me get into the 3 ideas that I really wanted to share, and the whole reason why I even created this podcast to begin with. Hey guys, let's talk about our sponsor for a second. Sorry for the interruption, but Operation Self Reset is sponsored by Health IQ. Health IQ is an insurance company that helps healthy, conscious people get lower rates on their life insurance. Health IQ uses science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for health conscious people, including runners, cyclists, strength trainers, vegetarians, and more. 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance, and these savings are exclusive to Health IQ. Again, if you are interested in getting life insurance for yourself to make sure that your family or your most precious assets are protected, make sure that you get life insurance. I'm a huge fan of it. It gives me peace of mind. Obviously, I have 3 young children at home and a wife. I need to make sure that everything will be okay if something happened to myself. Please head on over to healthiq.com/reset to get a great rate on your life insurance. And if you don't want to use Health IQ, that's totally cool, but I highly suggest just checking them out because I know for a fact that they will beat any competitor's prices. Again, get yourself some awesome life insurance. Head on over to healthiq.com/reset to get a great rate on your life insurance. And if you call in, make sure to tell them that Operation Self Reset sent you over to Health IQ. So I appreciate you guys. Now back to the show. Number 1 is to change it up. The new normal is good. Now, that was just a little note from me to remind me kind of the topic that I want to say here. And it's this. The new year has begun for you. Obviously, you may be starting on a new goal regimen, a new routine, a new habit you're trying to implement into thyself. Over the course of time here, what you're doing in the beginning is shocking the system. What you're doing is new. It's feeling uncomfortable. You're doing outside of the norm. It's stretching you a little bit. You're feeling exhausted. You're going to bed earlier or later or waking up, whatever the case may be. You are shocking yourself, which is absolutely crucial in development of growth. If you want to grow, you cannot be stagnant. You cannot be comfortable. You cannot continue to be around the same type of people because you are not going to be able to see what else is out there, to change your perspective, to change your input, to allow you to open up and to move forward. And the example that they share is this: the Sky cycling team back in 2012. They won the Tour de France in 2012 and 2013, but then they underperformed in 2014. And they're trying to figure out, with all these researchers and scientists and psychologists, to figure out why the Sky cycling team won in 2012, 2013, but come 2014, they totally fell apart. They crapped the bed. It didn't work out. They're disappointed. They're frustrated. They were the kind of the iconic golden team that was supposed to win it in 2014. So they investigated, why is it that they didn't win? And it wasn't due to the equipment, because they had the best equipment, the lightest equipment. It wasn't because of the trainers. They had the best of trainers. They had the best abilities to, get these guys on the top tier level of peak performance. It wasn't the equipment. It wasn't the trainers. It wasn't the nutrition. It wasn't the research. It wasn't the data. What it was is that they compiled a team back in 2011. And when they compiled that team in 2011, they were in the building phase. And when they built that team, there was a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of different inputs. There's a lot of different theories on the way that they should grow their team, they should develop their team, they should condition their team, all these different types of inputs. Over the course of 2011, they refined that. They figured out, okay, we're doing good here. Let's refine that a little better. Come 2012, they go back into the Tour de France. They crush it because they had a lot of different personalities. They had a new group of individuals. They had new equipment that they had their hands onto, and they kind of used that as a jigsaw puzzle to find the perfect way to build this trophy, if you want to call it that. They dominated in 2012. They took that same formula, they tweaked it a little bit, and they dominated in 2013. The difference was, though, in 2013, even though they still won, the team became closer. The personalities became tight. It became more of a family atmosphere. It became a very best friend kind of organization. And if you were to look from the outside in, you go, that's great. The camaraderie is there. They're going to protect each other. They're going to help each other. They're going to push each other. But as we know, if you compile a group of individuals, think for yourself for a second, a group of individuals that you're best friends, that you hang out with all the time, that you see them on a regular basis. You talk about sports. You talk about the news. You talk about everything. You talk about iPhone addiction in kids and how Apple should pay billions of dollars for research and software and apps and all that stuff, and you talk with your best friends, chances are your best friends are going to have somewhat of the similar ideas, somewhat of the similar kind of ways of thinking about things, somewhat of the same kind of attitude towards that position. And the reason why we hang out with like-minded individuals is because of that. Majority of us don't really like to battle. A majority of us really don't like to push against the grain, as if you want to call it that. So, if you compile individuals that think like you, that act like you, are you, you're not going to really have that dynamic to push each other beyond your comfort zone. Sure, can you, rub each other the wrong way and maybe, throw a couple of shots at each other to push each other a little bit harder? Of course. But would you push yourself harder, or would you challenge the other members, or would the other members challenge you if you were to go into a new group of friends where everybody had a different personality, where they had different ideas on how Apple should invest the billions of dollars into research? Would you be a little more in your game? Would you be a little more alert? Would you be a little more poised and want to bring your best self every single day? Of course you would. Until you connected and created those bonds. And then once you create those bonds, you kind of relax and you kind of get into the mellow, so the comfort zone of the friendship or the team. And the same applied to the Sky cycling team who won in 2012 and 2013, but they didn't win in 2014 because their team was too close. Their team thought exactly alike. Their team was not disorganized. It was almost like going into a rose garden. Every plant was a rose. It was beautiful. It worked really well. It was really nice sights and smells, but it didn't allow them to perform and to get what they wanted in 2014. And so the research and the data out of that little example was this, is that the team became too comfortable, and the only way for them to grow and to win in 2015 and beyond was to pull out some of the players, some of the teammates, and interject some new players into the mix to get everybody riled up, to kind of rub shoulders a little bit more, to figure out different points of view, to see how they can mold the team once again from almost zero to hero into that same format of a victory team. The same applies to businesses, right? That's why they fire CEOs if the CEO isn't performing. The same with all different types of organizations, big or small, and the same with you. Obviously, if you want to grow yourself, chances are you can't hang out with the same group of people because they're not going to push you. The accountability isn't going to be as intense, and that's why people buy or hire coaches. They get individuals to help them with their goals, to lose weight, to achieve more, business coaches to advance their business, all different types of coaches out there because those coaches do not have the friend approach. The coaches have the I'm here to get results kind of coach. And when you have that, you're going to change it up. You're going to have a new normal. And once you have that new normal, it's going to be good. All right? So that is number 1 takeaway. Hopefully you got some value out of that. Number 2, focus on truth versus feeling comfortable. The biggest thing, another example that they shared in the book, and I think it's very true, is that when it comes to stocks, when it comes to investing your money, a lot of people can get comfortable in the sense of you're going to invest in stocks that perform, very well over a long term, and that's obviously a very good propositions. It's a very good investing technique. If you want to make money, you need to invest it in low and slow, grows over time. You're not going to take anything very risky because you don't know it that well, and you're comfortable with investing in very solid, reputable companies that can excel your money over the course of 10 years, as opposed to striking it big on 1 or 2 years. And the example that they shared was Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is one of the greatest investors in history, and his approach is this: is that he doesn't care about feeling comfortable or even feeling uncomfortable. The only thing that Ray Dalio cares about, and again, he's the guy who's investing. Geez, his hedge fund is just massive. I can't even tell you the amount of money, but it's in the billions of dollars that his company takes care of. Is that he truly just based his investing off of truth. Truth comes from facts. Facts are real life. And for me, this was a big eye opener because I always talk about getting uncomfortable and comfortable and going follow the success leaves clues and all those different types of things. But it's a different way to look at that quote of success leaves clues. In that, if you want to develop yourself, you need to find the truth in things. Not just the things that associate well with you, not the things that you personally like or enjoy, but the truth. The truth is, if you want to lose the weight, you need to lower your intake, work out a little bit more, and you will lose the weight. There are a lot of truths in the health industry, and there's a lot of truths in the finance industry. There's a lot of truths in business, there's a lot of truths in relationships, there's a lot of truths all over the place. And so the way for you to advance, the way for you to get better, the way for you to continue to grow yourself this year, 2018, is to find the truths in things. It's not so much to find the coolest, trendiest, weirdest way. It's not like bulletproof coffee, which is kind of the new, sexy way to drink your coffee with butter, coffee, and this thing called MCT oil, which is basically coconut oil, and that's really sexy and attractive, right? It's really a cool way to drink your coffee. But is that the truthful way to drink your coffee? Is that going to get you the results that you want long term? No, because there's a lot of flip-flopping on that coffee, bulletproof coffee. Look it up. There's a lot of people that are pro it. There's a lot of people that are against it. A lot of people think, well, how can I lose weight when I'm putting, a quarter cup of butter in my coffee and drinking that? And even though I'm not eating anything else, like that's supposed to help me. Some people don't get it. And obviously, there are a lot of factors that weigh on both sides of the fence. But the thing that we can understand in the health industry, there are a lot of truths. Like, don't eat white starches. That's a truth. There's a lot of bad karma, a lot of bad gojo with eating white starchy foods. It doesn't do good to your blood index. It spikes your blood sugar. You get moody, you get crashes, all different types of things. Those are truths. Those are actual scientific research documented truths in the healthcare industry. What is it that you're trying to go for? What is the industry that you're trying to excel at? Find the truths in it. When you find the truths in it, stick with it. Don't get into the feeling comfortable or the comfort zone of health. Don't get in the comfort zone of investing. Don't get in the comfort zone of whatever industry you're trying to excel at. Find the truths, stick with it, and when you do that, it is the truth. That is the way that it operates. That's the way that it goes. It's not a risk. It's not daring. Once it is truly a truth, the challenge is you got to invest time and research into figuring out what is truth and what is false. So that's my only caveat with that second tidbit. And the third comment that I want to say is not so much a idea from the book as it was a quote that kind of reinvigorated my stance on a couple of things. And the quote is this: some people will always think they have a better sense of what's good for you than you do. And of course, being open to feedback is great. All right, well, the real kind of quote here is the top line. Some people will always think they have a better sense of what's good for you than you do. Isn't that true? That's a truth statement right there. Some people will always think they have a better sense of what's good for you than you do. Isn't that truthful? And like I said, it doesn't really relate to the book about being messy or anything like that. It's just one of those things as a reminder that everybody else has a great plan, a great agenda, the way that things should be, the way that we operate, the people we hang out with, the job that we have, the places we live, the things we do with our money, the things we do on Saturday nights, or if we party too much or don't do enough partying, or we spend too much in Christmas time, or we don't set enough goals, or we don't read, or we should read, or we read too much, all those different types of things. The truth is, don't let other people dictate the way that you live your life. Plain and simple. It's more of a public service announcement than it is anything else. But I'm going to say it one more time. Some people always think that they have a better sense of what's good for you than you do. Some people truly do. And haven't you found it easier to give suggestions, to give ideas to people that are going through a really terrible time, or somebody that is going through a very terrible relationship breakup or divorce, and everybody has suggestions and it's going to be okay and all that stuff, but yet when they go through it, they don't want to hear those comments. But yet when they go through it, they're not taking their own truth serum or their own cup of sugar or a cup of medicine or tablespoon of medicine, whatever you want to call it. But isn't that true? Because we like to stand on our pedestals or our soapboxes and proclaim the way things should be. But in actuality, that doesn't represent what is right for that individual. And the same applies to you. When people are on their pedestal or their soapbox and they're preaching to you the way things should be, always remember, they don't dictate the way that you show up in the world. They don't dictate the way that you live your life. You're here listening to this podcast for a reason. I don't know what your reasoning is. Hopefully, I would love to hear about it. Hopefully, you can come to my live event in September and we can talk about it in person. But in the meantime, don't let other people dictate the way that you operate and live your life. If you want to rock the socks off of being a guy that is an introvert and loves reading books by himself, rock the socks off of it. If you're the type of guy that loves going out there and networking and traveling around the world and going here and there and living it up, go for it, dude. More power to you. If you're the female, the woman that just enjoys, staying in the confines of your home and going to work and doing a great job and laying low, then God bless you. But if you feel that there's a bigger mission out there for you, if you feel that there's a business inside of you, if you feel that there's a goal, ambition, something that you want to accomplish inside of you, then go for it. Don't let other people dictate how you spend the money, how you go about it, how you build the business, all that different types of stuff. The example that they share in the book, real quick, obviously Jeff Bezos is the founder of Amazon. He obviously has created a company that is just magnificent. It's impressive. People want to be like him. People wish they invested in him early on, but it wasn't all luxurious and amazing at day one. People thought it was dumb. He couldn't sell everything online. The people thought that he should sell his business to Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble is going to take over the world. All these different types of things. But Jeff stuck to this plan. Jeff knew that it was going to work out. Jeff burned through millions and millions of dollars before ever figuring out how the heck this thing was going to operate. And now you and I can go on Amazon.com, click on one-click buy or something like that. We can get the product to our doorstep tomorrow, even though that product is 4 or 5 states away, or for some people 4 or 5 hours away, depending on where you live or what you're doing. It's unbelievable, the behemoth of a company that he created. And he stuck to this quote, which was, some people always think they have a better sense of what's good for you than you do. Don't let those people dictate the way that you show up in the world. You have something great inside of you. You need to go let it share with the world. Don't let other people bring that out. So that is my 2 cents. That is my 3 tips off of the book called Messy. Number 1, change it up. The new normal is good. Number 2 is focus on the truth. And number 3 is don't let other people dictate the way that you live your life. Go out there. If you have something inside, bring it out. Do it. Life is short. Don't be that person that always thinks, man, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. It is never too late. Go ahead, get started. So I appreciate you guys full-heartedly. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To all of our success in the years coming up, hey, keep on going out there. Be freaking awesome. Rock the socks off. And the count of 3, I'm freaking awesome. Let's do the awesome sauce. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm freaking awesome! Woo! I appreciate you guys. I thank you guys. And to a great freaking week. We will catch you next week, Wednesday, on another great episode of Operation Self Reset. We'll see ya.